Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino and UFC Fight Pass.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule is in effect on UFC Fight Pass. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Mr. Mario Lopez.
No moniker?
Yeah, couldn't think
no
of one.
moniker. Come on, Kim.
Dry.
Don't have an off day on me right here. Shout out to Smoking Tim Frazier. That moniker sticks right there.
And Tino on the edits. All right, a lot to talk about the bout sheet for tonight. Venado retains his title. Then we talk about Zepeda versus Gesta. Fight preview, final flurries, and of course, Ask Mario. But before we get started, I want to let you know this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino, located in Gardena, California, just 20 minutes from downtown LA. Check out the latest promo, So Fine Sundays, where they're giving away tons of cash. Beat the stadium traffic and play your favorite games at Hustler Casino. For more info, go to hustlercasino.com.
Also, shout out to our neighbors right here in Hollywood. Scout Micro LA. They offer a unique and innovative hair loss solution for men. And they do a thing known as SMT, which basically restores or replicates the exact shape and size of the hair follicles by tattooing little particles of pigment into the scalp, giving the illusion of hair. You'll never look like it's going again. And you can see results in as little as one treatment. They restore the hairlines. They make your hair look a little dense if it's thin. And they can create an illusion of a close crop style if you like to rock it short. And they can also camouflage burns or other skin conditions that you've got. They use the best stuff. So if you're going bald, you're looking for a new look, hit up our homies at Scout Micro LA and you mention this ad for a free consult.
If you're getting thin, he'll help fill you in.
Round 1.
All right, let's get started. Round number 1, Friday night from the American Bank Center in Corpus Christi, Texas on ESPN. The IBF featherweight title is retained by Venado Alberto Lopez with a 12-round decision over Joet Gonzalez. Your scores 116-112, 118-110, 117-111. Mario, Venado, he's not a textbook, but again, it looks wrong, but for him, it's all right.
So I was in Florida for work this past weekend. We get so spoiled, not to venture off too much, watching the fights the times we do. Bro, you need some coffee to stay up for these fights. I feel sorry for our East Coast fans. We should discuss that a little bit more later. But I did watch them all. Venado, I find it ironic that my guy, Venado means deer in Spanish. But my guy is too explosive for a deer. He needs like a new moniker. You know, I would say you could help him, but you don't come up with monikers anymore because you don't give me nominated. So I look forward to every week. Is it me or does he look like the Mexican Naseem Hamed? Right? He's got those thick legs built like him. He's got those lunging lead uppercuts in hooks with these angles, and he's got some pop. And he reminded me, as I'm like, there's a little thing. I guarantee he's watched his fights or he's a fan of his. And you can tell he's an explosive guy who relies a lot of his athleticism. I don't know how long that style will carry him, but it is incredibly effective and against some good opponents right now. Props to Joet Gonzalez, who I thought fought very well and did the best of his abilities. He seemed to go in there with a good game plan. He had moments and it made it close, but unfortunately, it just was not enough, and I think he's continuing down that modern-day Obakar path of our generation. But Venado, again, he's got, because of, and much like Hamed, those close rounds, you had to lean towards him because of the flashy punches that were a little bit more thudding. They looked a little bit more impressive, and it looked like it took a little bit more of its toll. So in what was probably theoretically a close fight, I thought it was the right decision, and Venado got his hand raised, and he, I think, is a problem for a lot of people in that division. He can win on the road. He wins when the pressure's on him, and he's defending, and the lights are bright. I thought it was a good performance, Kim.
Yeah, with Joet Gonzalez, he's a technically sound, well-schooled boxer, but he's not slick enough to be invisible. He's not feather-fisted, but he doesn't quite hit hard enough to dent the armor of the world-class guys. And I thought that was an issue on Friday night, that even when he was having success for about 2 minutes, all of a sudden Venado would come out with these punches that come out of nowhere, and the round would be stolen
He
back.
let him steal the round. I was going to say this might be his closest, but then the one with Dog Bay was really close too.
Yeah.
But those are about as two. But you're right, just enough, almost there. But man, just can't seem to get it done.
In baseball, you call it warning track power.
There you go.
I mean, it
Good
looks
analogy.
like a home run, and all of a sudden the left fielder kind of settles in, and it's a long fly ball out. And that's the thing. I thought Joette really gave it his all. May have won 3 out of the last 4 rounds. He closed pretty well.
Look well prepared.
But the thing with Venado is, I don't even know how you spar with the guy. There's no one out there on your Rolodex you could say, okay, if I'm a trainer, we're going to prepare for Luis Alberto Lopez. You start looking, you're like, all right, who fights like this guy? He's kind of a version, like you said, of Hamed, because he throws such unorthodox punches from all sorts of angles. The hook is wide. He telegraphs a lot of punches, but if you're not used to facing him, that alone makes it very, very difficult.
Well, Las Navarrete's opponents, they don't have the same style, but they're similar in the sense that they're unorthodox to their benefit, and it works for them. And you're right, a lot of guys who obviously don't have that sort of style, you're not going to bring in that sort of sparring, so you're kind of learning on the job, and by that time, it's too late.
And you take a look at this division. At 126, he's number 1 in Ring Magazine. Your other belt holders, Ray Vargas with the WBC, Lee Wood with the WBA, Robesi Ramirez with the WBO. I don't think there's a dominant name. Unfortunately, the politics of boxing will keep a lot of these fights from happening. But Robesi Ramirez is with Top Rank, as is Lopez. Based on what you've seen, you have a well-schooled Cuban southpaw that is developing as a pro under his new trainer, the little Cuban out there in Vegas who does a hell of a job, Ismael Salas. Could his technical precision overcome the unorthodox power of Lopez? That's a fascinating fight.
It is fascinating. It could. Whether it does or not, it remains to be seen. That's why we fight the fights. But he's fighting with a lot of confidence right now, too. And when you're a confident guy with some power and athletic ability like he has, that's a dangerous opponent.
Mario, taking a look at this broadcast, some other stuff happened. Emiliano Vargas won. Xander Zayas looked like a real prospect. Here's the thing I found interesting about this particular broadcast. It started a little bit late because a college football game ran long.
Tell me about it.
That's fine.
East Coast.
Okay, it happens, but ESPN is not the only one, because the next night when I was at the Commerce Casino, I'm going to say this right now, I get it if it's a pay-per-view, you want to have the intermission because you're trying to stretch out pay-per-view sales. I do not understand this, that boxing is the only sport that literally looks at midnight as prime time. Mario, I'm starting to really time this all the time. I believe that the fight before Venado and Joette ended at about 25 past the hour. And on Twitter, I said, okay, over under, folks. Does this fight happen at a quarter till? It didn't. I'm just like, why is it taking so long? And my view is this. You're absolutely right. When you're on the East Coast, it's great for the first half of the card because you can have dinner, do anything you want. You can get there by 8:30, 9 o'clock. You're good. Here's the problem. You don't finish till 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes. I find it to be ridiculous how much they bloviate on air in between fights.
Well, just because I experienced it this past weekend, people got stuff to do the next day. You're going to church. You got stuff around the house. Kids are going to wake you up. You're losing, I got to imagine, a huge portion of your audience by delaying these fights to go that long. It was very discouraging. I was struggling. Yeah. To stay up and to watch it. And you're right. I really sympathize for a lot of the East Coast fans out there. I don't know if there's anything they can do about it, though, Kim.
Yeah, and they've actually had other cards, ESPN and ESPN Plus, that end around 9:30 to 9:45 Pacific time, which literally means you're going past midnight madness. You're actually creeping up on 1 a.m. That is boxing way, 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 way after dark.
Sunday boxing.
Yes. And speaking of that, from the Commerce Casino, I was there live, broadcast by The Zone, and Viva Cameron. William Zepeda just absolutely swarms Mercito Gesta, stopping him in 6. He moves to 29-0, 25 knockouts. Mario, this guy is must-see TV.
First of all, I'm jealous that you were there, and had I been in town, I would have been there. Yeah. The energy looked great. That's another guy whose nickname is kind of funny. The Shrimp. Cameron is a shrimp. We got a deer and a shrimp.
Well, he's got jumbo activity.
Both don't fit. I don't get the deer with explosive Lopez there, and the shrimp, I don't really get that. Maybe because he's kind of light-skinned,
Yeah.
kind of pink. I don't know the reasoning or the history behind that nickname. What I do know is my guy could fight. I was really excited to see him, and he delivered, and I got even more excited afterwards. Kim, he is just a relentless assault of aggression that does not stop, and he starts going downhill and it's like an avalanche. He just continues, and he doesn't go in there reckless. He goes in there fists flying from the beginning, and he was going up against a really experienced, savvy guy. Seasoned pro who's fought at a high level against other world champions in Gesta, and he broke him down. It wasn't even, I think, both physically and mentally. And Jack Reese, who I love, the ref who called the fight, I thought did an excellent job and was checking on him. And I'm glad they called it when they did, because this guy, it's a two-fisted attack that's a beautiful display of violence, because he goes upstairs, he goes downstairs, big uppercuts, big hits, and he does a nice little combination where he goes right hook to the body, left hook upstairs, right hook down to the belly, and he throws it at different angles. It's so nice, and that's my kind of fighter. I love his style. I love that no matter what, he makes you fight his type of fight. And I was very, very impressed. So much so that I would say outside of Shakur and Tank, I would favor him over any other lightweight, even if Devin Haney was still there. I'll tell you that. Even if Devin Haney was, and I'll tell you what, I think it's very competitive with Tank. And he could give him a lot of problems, because who gave him a lot of problems the last time was Pitbull, right? He is I think, a stronger, bigger version. He's a big lightweight, bigger version than Pitbull, and I think that's a very winnable fight for him. I haven't really been able to see. He's caught some shots, but Gesta's not as heavy-handed. But how much he can catch, that's I haven't personally been able to see that. But outside of that, man, like you said, must see TV. But anytime he fights, I want to be there, and that's a can't miss television-friendly fighter.
Old-timers would say of guys like Zepeda, they fight like they're double parked. Zepeda fights like he's double parked and he's robbing a bank.
Yeah.
He's in a hurry.
No, he's in a hurry. I texted with Oscar back then. I go, bro, that was impressive. He goes, dude, he's a machine. And he is. He looks like a fighting machine.
In the second round, Gesta was already on the defensive, trying to fend him off. He backs up and he creates space. He actually took a deep breath like, oh.
No, he overwhelms you.
That's the second round he did that to a seasoned pro.
And he didn't look like he slowed down. It looked like he even got more momentum as the rounds went on. I go, whoa, that's wild. That's impressive.
It'll be interesting to see how Golden Boy handles this career, because I get it. You want to take the path of least resistance. You know what? Show some faith. I am so sick and tired of these fighters getting high rankings and saying, well, not you. Not you. Well, maybe you. Well, when are you going to move up?
Well, they were in the ring afterwards, and they said, they mentioned Devin Haney, who I think is going to go up to 140 and not come back, but they want the champ, so I don't think they were trying to say, oh, well, just let my promoters, and listen, I know they're very high on this kid, and he is a handful for everyone, and I think he needs to fight for a title and get a belt, because pretty soon people aren't going to want to get in the ring with him. Did you say you did see before if he can take a good shot or not?
His offense is his defense. He catches okay.
Yeah, because from what I've seen, yeah.
And plus, he makes guys, when they throw punches, it's very defensive.
Right.
You're not allowed to get on your front foot.
You're more stay off me punches.
You're almost fending him off. And here's the interesting thing. I believe that Zepeda is a heavier-handed, more powerful left-handed version of Juan Diaz. He's a lot like him, good. But the engine is the same, but he's heavier-handed.
Oh, and that's another thing. Yeah. I forgot. He's southpaw, too.
Yeah.
That's another thing. So you got a heavy-handed southpaw who's relentless, well-conditioned, fearless in there. That's a bad dude.
Right, and I posed a question on my K9's Corner for Snack.com. Look, everyone knows what I think of Shakur Stevenson. That guy's stealth. I'm not sure anyone beats him between 130 and 140. Tank Davis, this is interesting. He's been out-hustled. Remember Mario Barrios? Was not a heavy-handed guy, but for a long time was able to kind of stay ahead of him.
Pitbull had moments.
Yes, he did. But Tank's power. That's the equalizer.
Well, that's why I was asking about the chin, yes.
Devin Haney at 135. I don't know if he wants to face that type of onslaught for 36 minutes.
I think we've seen the last of Haney at 35, honestly, especially if he goes up to 140. That's it.
Loma at this age may not want to go through another battle quite like that. George Kambosos, to me, would make a good fight stylistically. But my view is Zepeda hits a little bit harder. Ryan Garcia wants no part of that.
No part.
None.
No, Golden Boy would not do. Are you kidding me? I mean, no.
Isaac Cruz, Isaac Cruz is on a leash.
He's a bigger, stronger version of him.
Yeah, well, he's on a leash. It's obvious what they're setting up, the rematch with Tank. And then you look at
nobody's asking for.
And Frank Martin, I'm not so sure he wants a real fight or a lot of money based on recent activity or actions that he's taken. I tell you the most interesting fight.
I think he's too much for Frank Martin.
I don't know if you can make it politically, but a guy that I think would have the power and the precision to work in between all that activity, Raymond Murataya. Now, Murataya is a straight, hard-nosed puncher that's very compact, but it's easier said than done when you... I remember for years, people would say when they're facing Pacquiao, I could do this, this, and this. Then they get rained upon with all that letter, and all of that goes right out the window. I think a lot of that same dynamic is there with a guy like Zapeda.
And he mixes up his attack so you can't time him, and you can't get used to certain combinations. He's very smart in there when he does it, but I was so impressed with him. And the fact that he was able to keep up that level of aggression at that pace, I was like, yo, this dude's bad. I want to see him anytime he fights. He's becoming like one of my new favorites.
At the end of that sixth, when the corner started, they told the commission, get in there. It did look like a man who was drowning, and they had to throw like a life preserver
how did
in there.
Was it the craziest person?
Yeah, you're kind of like, this guy doesn't stop.
Yeah, he's crazy.
But you felt, look, I know Mercito from the beginning of his career. Okay, I have a lot of great feelings about.
Yeah,
I felt bad because I'm like, this is a veteran. He's at the very end. But I've said certain fighters drown you in leather, and he looked like a guy that was going down with the riptide, and I'm like, someone throw him a lifeboat, get the Coast Guard, rescue him, let him see his family. And look, when you face William Zepeda, you need a couple things, a long night's rest and a lot of Advil, because you're going to be bruised up all up and down your body and head.
Yep.
All right, when we come back, we go to these commercial messages, we go to the fight review, preview, news and notes, and Ask Mario.
Catch us streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand.
Constant fucking struggle
For my fans.
What? I read it twice.
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule on UFC Fight Pass. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our fine program, we still have some slots available. Please reach out to us by emailing info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid.io is an online platform that is launching soon that helps public figures and professionals in the world of boxing get sponsorships. We are proudly working with boxbid.io.
Review preview.
Okay, moving on to the fight preview rematch. London, England on ESPN+. Zhang Zhilei once again tangles with Joe Joyce for the second time in Mario. It's a play on words, it's a pun. But when Zhilei faced him on April 15th, he really taxed Joe Joyce. But, I mean, it was a one-sided fight. He knocks him out in 6 rounds. I'm surprised that Joe Joyce, with the lopsided nature of this fight, decided to go out and do the rematch clause. I can't lie.
Well, it's got to be just financially. It's same as Spence and Crawford, which I want to get to later, by the way, too. But, I mean, it seems there's so many limited opportunities that you have one that's ironclad and contractually agreed upon. I guess you have to take it. I know sometimes it doesn't seem to make the most sense, but because they're so few and far between, I think you got to capitalize on it.
Yeah, this is what I remember from the first fight, and I've always liked the Juggernaut. He is what he is. He's a slow, plodding guy. But Mario, on that particular day, he looked like not only slow and plodding, he looked like he was underwater. And I'm just thinking to myself, he could not get out of the way of the left hand. And one thing about Zhang Zhilei, that big Chinese guy, he has an absolute hammer on that backhand. And from the very beginning, he clipped him. He kept clipping him. It did not stop.
I remember.
And Joe Joyce, every time he tried to shift gears, he went right back into neutral. I hate to say it, at age 37, people don't understand this. He only has 16 fights, but that is an odometer with a lot of miles on it. He was never a speed demon, and when all of a sudden you go backwards physically and you take that hammering, I don't see a way that Joe Joyce is going to turn the table here, Mario.
Yeah, I mean, either he's going to go out there and go for broke and he's going to be honest with himself, or he's going to look for a soft place to lay down in that fight. I think it's a bit of a cash grab. I remember that fight vividly, too, but I'm going to obviously be checking it out, and I don't see it going any different.
Zhang Zhilei is the wild card in the heavyweight division. Everyone talks about the guys at top: Usyk, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. Zhang Zhilei, though, this is a big, strong guy.
He's never mentioned.
And he's southpaw. Keep that in mind. And unlike an Usyk, who's more of like a very stylish boxer, this guy brings the hammer. I'm just telling you, there was actually talk of him fighting Tyson Fury.
Ooh.
And I think Tyson Fury said, no, let's go with this MMA guy.
Yeah. It's funny you rattled that heavyweight list off, who's who, and you didn't mention Andy Ruiz. Who I know
that was on purpose.
And
I mean, why aren't we done with him? Come on.
Well,
I mean, really?
Well, the irony is that he does look in better shape than he's been in a long time, and he keeps calling these guys out. I just want to see some variety and to mix it up, and I know he's calling people out. I hope we see him again, to be honest with you, because I like diversity.
But one question. I'm with you. I actually don't mind, but has he gotten off his $20 million mark?
Whoever's in his ear needs to be quiet. He needs to be quiet.
It's a little, as you would say, aggressive.
Right.
Okay. Also on Saturday from the Zone from Orlando, Florida, a crossroads bout at 140. Richardson Hitchens, very talented young man, takes on former world champion Jose Zepeda.
News and notes.
November 16th. Okay, so Shakur Stevenson finally has an opponent. It looks like Edwin De Los Santos will be his dance partner on ESPN+. And Mario, I love this. Emmanuel Navarrete, we just saw him a couple weeks ago against Oscar Valdez. He's coming right back on the co-feature of this against Robson Conceição. Now that's what I'm talking about.
I love that. That was a quick turnaround. That was a physical fight, too. So great on him.
He's the Terminator. He is the Terminator. You can't get rid of that BT-3000. Also, I've been told that Emiliano Vargas will be on that card. Mario, this kid's making some waves here.
Really love that. Another quick turnaround. He had an impressive showing. The kid's got star quality. And the fact that they're keeping him busy, especially by today's standards, incredibly busy. I think he's well on his way. Top Rank's doing a great job.
And Mario, late last week, it kind of came out that there may be a snag in terms of the rematch between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Let's set the stage here. The way the contract was written up, the loser of the bout had the right to say, I want the rematch, but the winner said, okay, I'll choose the weight class. Now, when we had Terrence Crawford here, he made it clear to us, yep, that's true, and I am now the boss. And it seems to me, Crawford, after 5 years of being hardballed, well, now he's playing Nolan Ryan himself. Looks like he's saying 47 or bust. You like that or not?
Congratulations, you played yourself with that contract move. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel he's doing that because he's putting all his eggs in the Canelo basket. The problem with that is that you're taking a big gamble because wouldn't you, especially if you're going to fight a Canelo, go up to 154,
dip the toe,
beat this man who you essentially destroyed in the last time out, create even more momentum, and give yourself even a better chance of getting the Canelo fight. I find it ironic that Spence, who at one point was being discussed to move up to fight Canelo, is now on the other end of this discussion, wanting to go up. And there's people out there saying that the outcome could be different had he just not been weight drained. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but it does seem sort of counterproductive for Crawford to not gradually start making his way up the weight scale ladder, because we're talking a 21-pound difference.
I have a question. Do you believe morally, because some people have brought this up.
Morally, you can't bring morals
Yeah,
into
in boxing.
this.
Yeah, we're in the wrong racket.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
What do you think of those people say, no, he owes him a rematch at 54 because he gave him the first fight? Agree or disagree?
That's all agreed upon contractual. You can, there's no, look at, first of all, morals have nothing to do with it. It's whatever was contractually agreed upon. And if it's written that the winner gets to choose the weight class and he's the winner, well, then he gets to call the shots. Look, not for a second do I think Terrence is conflicted on whether he is able to beat Spence at 54. Not for a second. I think he'd be incredibly confident, and I would favor him heavily at the 54. I think he's putting all his eggs in this basket to not let anything come between the potential Canelo fight that he's campaigning for. But we saw what happened when other people tried to look. What Bivol, he hasn't even fought in a year when he's trying to get Canelo.
I remember
sweepstakes.
him.
And then
Bivol.
Spence too. For a second, there was talk about that, and that never materialized. Who knows what's going to happen in this next fight with Canelo? Who knows if Canelo is going to finally entertain the Benavidez fight? And then what? Crawford's not going to fight for another year and a half? So I don't like it. Would you prefer he just goes up to 54, beats him, and then continues beating that drum?
I would actually like to see another fight. That first fight was so lopsided. I don't think anything changes.
No. But I'm saying, no, as a fan, but I'm saying if you're
choice,
but I'm saying if you're Crawford, is what I'm saying.
Right, get the money.
That's what I'm saying.
If there's a really,
if I know I beat this dude so much and I can capitalize and just make some an easy 10, 15, 20 mil, whatever it is, why wouldn't I do that?
But this has to be pointed out. Errol Spence told everyone for 5 years that I'm the A side. You drew up the contract. You agreed to it. Terrence Crawford, to the letter of the law, is not breaching anything. He has the right to say, I won the fight. I won it at 47.
Exactly.
And by the way, this has to be pointed out also. Errol Spence delayed the fight. He outgrew the weight because he didn't want to do this fight 2-3 years ago. See, these things have a way of coming back and biting you right in the backside.
So does Spence pass? Because I think he's leaning towards...
That seems to be the indication.
Yeah, that he's just refusing to kind of go down there weight-wise for his health, which, by the way, is a smart
Well, hold on.
move.
Did you really want to see Spence Crawford 2 regardless?
I didn't want to see
Next?
it regardless. No,
Not
I didn't.
next, I didn't. At least.
No, not next. I did not. But that's not the point here, right? The point right now we're discussing is does he deserve or should he? It's not a matter of deserve
There's nothing
or
to
should.
deserve
It has
here.
nothing to do with it. Whatever is signed and whatever is agreed upon, a deal's a deal.
Yeah, because theoretically you could say, well, Terrence Crawford deserved this fight 4 years ago. Guess
Exactly.
what? Ain't got nothing to do with deserve.
Exactly.
Yeah, but what about morally?
Morally.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
okay, again, wrong racket. If we're
But
looking
Kim,
for the...
okay, let's say he's demanding the fight to stay at welterweight. Spence then refuses. Okay, so there's no fight. Fine. What's next, and what's going to be
I agree.
as financially as rewarding?
Nothing. Tim
That's
Tszyu,
my point.
Jerron
None of how much
Boots,
there's not.
Keith Thurman, none of them pay like Errol
None of
Spence.
them pay in more dangerous fights, in my opinion.
You're right. So risk versus
One fight,
reward.
147. So that's what I'm saying. So now you're lowering your price. You're in a much more dangerous scenario. Well, it doesn't seem to make sense.
In terms of sequels, this may be Godfather 3 with Sofia Coppola. Just saying.
You know what I mean? You can outplay your own self,
Hey,
too.
that's my-
So it's...
Right. Again, this is all about risk versus reward and what is the best options of ones that are not perfect.
Exactly.
Moving on to the Ask Mario segment of the 3 Knockdown Rule on UFC Fight Pass. Here's a question from Darren Boyd. Hey, guys, what did you think of Xander Zayas? He is ready, but the PBC owns the belt at 154. Mario, I thought he looked good. I don't know if he's ready for the upper crust, though.
I thought it's the best I've ever seen him. I thought he's I mean, he's a young kid still, but he looked much more patient in there. I like the way he was putting his punches together. He really beat that kid up, and I think he's ready for a step up. I don't know if he's ready to take a shot at the title, but I think he's showing improvement. And he was always an athletic kid that looked strong, but I think now we're seeing progress in his development technically.
Keep this in mind as someone that did one of the first major stories on him when I was at ESPN and I covered his pro debut. He actually turned pro at age 17. They had to get like waivers for him to fight that early.
And how old is he now?
He's about 20 to 21.
So he's still young.
So he's still a young. He's still a pup.
Yes.
Right. And the last couple of fights, I kept wondering, when's his man strength coming? When's his power going to come? Like, I'm not expecting him to be Trinidad, but I need to see line drive power. I thought I saw it because suddenly that Mexican guy he faced, he looked like the end of Kerry. Like Sissy Spacek at the homecoming?
Bro,
I was like, wow, that's a crimson mask.
Yeah, that was brutal. I think he's definitely on his way, and especially being that young. They did a nice job with him developing him.
Yeah, and the way Top Rank handles it, they will make no wine before it's time. A famous, was it Paul Masson commercial? Whatever. Anyway, here's the one. This really hurts me to my heart, but it's so true from DH. In boxing, people often try to measure the immeasurable, such as dream historic matchups, fights across ridiculous division gaps. Whose disappointment was greater? Steve Kim telling his parents he would not be a doctor but a boxing or a sports journalist, or Spence fans post Crawford? Boy, man, there's a real meltdown there on that side of Twitter. I'll tell you that much.
Man, why'd you disappoint your parents like that?
A lot of B's and C's on that report card. Boy, they took that hard.
Spence fans, they got to be honest with themselves. They can try to justify that he was drained and it finally caught up with him, all that, but that was a demolition. So that particular night, all the other times, it was just the timing of that one just happened to catch up. You got to take your L like a man, just like you take your wins. And I would rather see Crawford fight Spence again at 54 just to see him continue to be active, and the momentum for the potential Canelo fight can continue. If he decides to stick to his guns and keep it at 47 and Spence doesn't want to, I don't think there's another fight out there outside of Spence that the momentum will continue and the drum will not beat as loudly for Canelo.
I'm with you in this sense. If Terrence would just go to 47 and make that Bob Beamon-sized leap, as I like to say, to 68 without picking up a belt or even having a fight at 54, much less 60,
right?
It feels kind of incomplete. I'm not going to lie to you.
It does, and then it seems more of a novelty.
Yes, a hell of a novelty, a well-paying one. But again, let's say Tim Tszyu, who fights in October, looks great and he's a full-fledged champion. Look, here's the problem. That doesn't pay. That does not pay as much as it would an Errol Spence rematch.
And when you just jump, it comes. You're talking about great risk. What comes to mind when oh my gosh, British fighter, great physique, light-skinned brother from he jumped up to fight Gennady Golovkin.
Oh, Kell Brook.
Thank you, Kell Brook. When Kell Brook, okay, you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
When Kell Brook jumped up,
Yeah.
Yes, he jumped up from 47 to 60.
Never the same again.
Golovkin literally broke his face. He broke his orbital bone, his eye socket, and he was never the same again, exactly like you said. So you have a significant risk. If you're going to jump 21 pounds, it's not too far-fetched to think something could happen with Crawford, because Kell Brook was a hell of a fighter.
Keep this in mind, though. Terrence has also said, no, I want the winner of Canelo Charlo. So maybe, again, let's not count out Jermell. You never know what could happen September 30th.
That's true. That's true.
Here's one from Frank Poultry. Did the UFC officially steal Mexican Independence Day away from boxing? Heard they had a good show this weekend.
Noche UFC, so smart.
Órale.
They're so smart over there, man. So they've leaned into it. And okay, they have 8 weight classes like the original 8.
Old school 8.
Old school 8, just like in boxing, okay? And old school, just like in boxing, the number one contender fights for the title every time. So if you have title defenses there at UFC, you're a bad dude. You're a bad dude. And if you are a double champion, meaning in the 2 weight classes, you're a really bad dude. And there's only been, I believe, 4 of them in the history of MMA there for UFC. A lot of those champions happen to have been Mexican, too, with the first one coming from Brandon Moreno from Tijuana. Then a lot of sort of first generation, like myself, Mexican descent with Henry Cejudo. Nate Diaz brothers, they were Mexican, of course, Kevin Gastelum. Like Cain Velasquez from a heavyweight champion. There's been a lot. And right now, Alexa Grasso, who from Michoacan, I believe, or Chihuahua, she was the headliner of this event. They had all Mexican fighters on the card against people from all over the world. You saw the flags. It was like a fight we would go see at T-Mobile in boxing. And I did the voiceover. I was sort of honored to do the voiceover. I don't know if I sent it to you. And they did a great little sort of promotional video about the history of how it is. They're so proud of it in boxing and how it's embraced, and now how we're embracing it in MMA and in UFC specifically. They're doing such a smart job just globally with the brand and leaning into the Latino community, which is, at the heartbeat, a lot of these fights. Bravo, because a lot of these fighters going into that particular space, and they might have taken over this event. This date.
They thought Canelo was going to be of the 16th.
No, I understand.
I think they wanted a couple more weeks. So, I mean, long as Canelo's there, it'll always be his date. But post-Canelo, I don't know.
Post-Canelo, I don't know. And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you where I would respectfully disagree. They stacked their cards so much. It almost equals the Canelo. It was sold out there at T-Mobile. And there was a lot of buzz, and people said it was real. I wish I could have been there in person, but like I said, it was East Coast. They said it was quite the show, and they were great fights. They've gone like consecutive weeks now with some great fights. So, well, they're definitely in the conversation to rival them, which I never thought I'd see.
That, and keep this in mind. Golden Boy wanted to do an event on that weekend, and William Zepeda, who I think is an all-action fighter, I was wondering, and again, I don't know what the rent is, I don't know what the availability of different venues is, but with a guy like Zepeda, I may have gone to StubHub Center, Carson, or a place like that, because you have to start building it out. And it's really a shame that a guy like Ryan Garcia, you can't trust him. He's not reliable. Like, you cannot say that you're the flag holder for May 5th and then Mexican Independence Day weekend. You have to have a certain type of reliability where you're like, okay, you're our anchor.
We went from Chavez to De La Hoya to Canelo now.
Or even Mayweather and Pacquiao. They kind of switched on those dates, A
little bit, yes, but I'm talking about as far as the flag holders, the Mexicanos, Canelo, Chavez, pardon me, Chavez, De La Hoya, Canelo. After that,
who is there?
That's what I'm saying. Your boy Garcia, had he really embraced and really,
excuse me,
you know what I'm saying?
That could have fighting words.
Other than that, I honestly don't. Who's going to fill that slot?
It's not going to be Zurdo. Because you can't rely on him, and he has not ever become a star. Canelo's at the very tail end.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, look, someone like a Zapeda a couple years from now, assuming we get some titles, some pay-per-views over there, perhaps, but it is a little discouraging that we can't rattle it off the top of our head.
Final flurries.
All right, moving on to final flurries. Mario, we're at that age. Do I need to get a prostate exam?
You haven't got one yet, bro?
You're bugging me about it all day. Why didn't you?
So we interviewed this guy on the radio show, James Pickens Jr. from Grey's Anatomy. He's been there since the beginning. He's the chief. Yeah, like 21 years or something wild on that show. That show's been on forever.
That long? That's a run.
It's a heck of a run. Shonda Rhimes, it's a heck of a run. And November is Movember. For guys grow their mustaches for what is the mustache for the? Do you grow in support to raise money for prostate cancer? So it is for the prostate. I thought there was that's what the connection right there. Yeah, for some reason, growing mustaches raises awareness level for prostate cancer. So there you go. So he's here to talk about that, and he asked me have I gotten mine? I said I haven't, but I'm about that age, about to hit the fifth level. So you got to go. And I said, can I ask you, has the procedure changed at all? I got to imagine with modern technology and medical procedures, it's gotten less invasive. And he's like, nope. Still the same old thing. I'm like,
okay, that's not a great selling point.
That's not a great selling point.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Hey, listen, Kim, I know you, man. Have a couple cocktails. You might have a good time up in there.
No. You're the one who wants to. You probably want to book double. That's why. I'm
going to find me a little doctor. I'll make sure Andre the Giant type doctor comes with you. In all seriousness, though, I think we got to go, dude. I think we got to go. Not together, but we got to go.
Yeah, let's not make it.
We got to go because it's a serious thing. We got to, you know what I mean? It's one of those things we don't think about, but we're at that age.
Special episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make it a special flurry.
Oh, my God.
Kim's going to come back like when I got my prostate exam. I'm not going to lie. It was
never
a fantastic time.
I've never felt better.
I'm going again next week.
Yeah.
I wasn't a doctor.
Hey, Mario, I got a question.
Right.
Was Brandon Staley on the flight home from the Chargers game? Why is he still the coach? I would have fired him 7 months ago.
There's only a few things in life that are certain. Death, taxes, and the Chargers trying to mount a comeback in the fourth quarter down by one score.
Or winning a close game.
Yeah. They can't ever just win comfortably. They can't just ever make life sort of easy. And look, I don't want to blame my guy Herbert because he's had a lot of successful drives as opposed to the other star quarterback in the league in the AFC, Burrow, who's just straight out struggled. Our defense, which I thought was going to be the highlight, with guys like Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, we have way too much talent.
Isn't Staley a defensive coach?
That's what I'm saying. It's really, look, Herbert got us down there. We tied the game. It was up to the defense just to hold them one time. They give it up, and then we lose the game. Kim, if we go 0-3, he can't come back after the bye week.
I'm just telling you, when they
Kellen Moore, why don't we just promote him up? Is that far-fetched?
Well, look, when they blew the 27-0 lead, I thought it was curtains.
So did I. And now you follow it, Kim. You follow it up with 2 more losses?
Close ones.
Yes.
Because it's not like they played bad games.
We have too much talent. For it to be like, come on.
The NFL is a one-possession league. Most games are not blowouts. I've noticed that when I watch a lot of Red Zone in that last hour. And I just wonder, is coaching the difference between losing by 4 or winning by 3? And when it happens too many times, and you're doing stuff like going for it on your own 20-yard line like he has in the past, I just have questions.
You're exactly right. So it remains to be seen. I haven't been able to get to a game. Well, they just started, literally. It's their second game. But I will be there for the Cowboys game on Monday Night Football.
That's going to be a lot of Cowboy fans.
Well, I want to get to that. I want to get to that in a second. But, well, let's go there right now, as a matter of fact. The Rams were playing the Niners this last week, and it looked like...
so you mean Candle SoFi Stick?
That's what I'm saying. It looked like we were in San Francisco, in the Bay Area there. So it's not just the Chargers, it is L.A.
Yeah, but...
that was drowning.
No, but
red.
Mario, I was on a radio show, they asked me about this, and they said, Steve, what is going on? Easy. We didn't have NFL football for 20 years here. And I don't think most of those years we really missed it. Let's be honest.
Did we really not have it 20 years, bro?
Yeah, Rams moved in 1994 along with the Raiders. They didn't come back till about 2016.
That's a good point.
So you're talking about a whole generation of fans. And me and you, we find other things. We enjoy football. We watch it. But we weren't like, as soon as the Rams moved, and I was a diehard fan, when they moved, they were dead to me. And I'm the type of guy, I'm a hard man. Once they came back, I said, nope, we're divorced.
That's why you got to embrace the Chargers now.
They're
who
saying...
were the original LA team. They were the original LA team. Thank you.
That is true. Kind of like the Brooklyn Dodgers.
There you go. Exactly.
That was original. Dodgers.
Well, I'm glad you bring up the Dodgers, because you go to a Dodgers game, you will not see those shenanigans.
Well, you see a lot of fights. I'll tell you that much.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying you will not see
Mario,
a swarm of.
Be honest.
But Kim, before we go back to that, you go to the Dodgers, you will not see a swarm of the opposing team's fine. You go to the Lakers game,
they never
you
moved.
won't see exactly. You go to even the LAFC, you will not see that.
Mario, be honest.
But because that's probably you're right. That's probably the best point is because we were gone for so long.
So Mario, from 1995 to about 2015, did you ever really say to yourself, God, I wish we had NFL? I didn't, and I love football. You know me. I never did.
You know why I didn't? Because football, out of all the team sports, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, it's one of the sports that I feel is much more enjoyable on TV.
It is, especially if you want to watch the other games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because when you're there, and even if you're there, you're still not
You're missing a lot.
You're missing a lot. Isn't that weird?
But Mario, if cities like Buffalo or Green Bay, if they lost their NFL teams, that would be a funeral. It's different.
No, I agree, but I'm saying,
different.
and I don't know if that factors into it, but I didn't miss it a lot because we saw it, and you have those DirecTV NFL packages, you watch all the games, but I actually find it more enjoyable. Once in a while I'll go, like I'm going to go to the Cowboys game, but it's not like I love being at the baseball games, I love being at the LAFC games, but if I don't go to the Chargers game, I'm okay just because I'm comfortable at home. It's
yeah, and you sit with the Spanos family, and you get VIP treatment,
Yeah, but
Mario, do you remember 3-4 years ago when there was the fires in Mexico and the Chiefs and the Rams had to move their game from Mexico back to the Coliseum?
Yep, I remember that.
I went to that game, and it was like a 51-48 game.
Wow.
And I said, you know what? I'll never see a game better than this. If I never go to another NFL game, I'm good. So all the only football games I'll go to is a Miami Hurricane game a couple times a year, and I won't ever have any type of passion for the Rams or the Chargers, even though they are local for some reason.
But my point is the product itself, I almost feel that it serves itself better on television. Do you agree?
No, football is perfect for television.
That's
the
what
way
I'm
it's
saying.
laid out, the 10 yards at a time, the reverse angle.
Right. You miss a lot in person.
You do. And if you care about the other games, I love watching NFL Red Zone. I don't know about you. You may watch one game, the Chargers, right? I actually watched the Red Zone for 7 hours.
Well, that's crazy, but I'll watch the highlights, and I catch up with SportsCenter and NFL Primetime and all that later. But obviously Monday, it's going to be now. There's 2 Monday night games, right?
For this week.
Okay, got it. Yeah. That was just this week. But Monday that'll be there. But yeah, I can't imagine how many Cowboys fans. Going back to that,
it's going to look like Arlington.
It's going to look like. Are they for real, Kim?
I think they have the best defense, and I actually think they might be the best team in the NFC. They look good.
Can Dak?
Micah Parsons is a monster. LT 2.0.
But can Dak get it done? Because
all he has to do is not screw it up. Protect the ball, and they can win. Mario.
So he can be the Trent Dilfer of the
or the
Ravens.
Brad Johnson.
Sure. Okay.
Mario, I got a question for you. I found this out. You can go to a lot of shoe stores like Foot Locker, Athlete's Foot, or whatever. You know what you can't? Because I tried to buy them at the Montebello Town Center. You know what you can't find at a shoe place? Shoelaces. I needed new shoelaces, and I went to every shoe place, and they're like, no, we don't sell shoelaces. Luckily, at the shops of Montebello, the Oracle, God, that's a great place. Shout out to the 323. It's hard to find shoelaces, but luckily, Journeys had them. So keep this in mind. If you ever need the new shoelace, don't go to any of those places. They don't sell shoelaces.
Don't go to a place called Athlete's Foot.
No, but that's right. That actually closed.
Do you not order stuff like online?
I do, but I would figure that a place that sells shoes, athletic or otherwise, would have shoelaces and different colors.
One would think, but I respect that you go old school and actually to the mall.
I love the shops.
I
the
like
shops
that you
in
go to the
Montebello.
actual
What are you talking
mall.
about?
I said I think that's cool.
And by the way,
You
it's
just
not
go
a
to the
dead
mall.
mall. Like not above. Lots people still go because the Montebello Town Center, about 40 years ago, that was the spot when like Stacy Q would do a concert there or like an appearance.
Yeah.
And a lot of malls are dead. Like
now that you have destination type malls like Americana, Grove.
Yes.
Right. Those are cool.
You need to
Standing out
have
there.
eateries. You need to have places to eat.
Yeah.
And you need to have places with shoelaces because thank God for Journeys. They bailed me out.
I don't know why you need those. You're rocking flops all the time.
Well,
anyway,
no, they were for my athletic shoes. But
Okay,
anyway.
fair enough.
Anyway, you traveling this week?
I have to do a quick trip to Salt Lake City.
Oh, fine people
Salt
up
Lake
there.
City, yeah, Salt Lake
Fine
City.
people up there.
It's a quick little flight, so hopefully it'll be fine. But yeah, I got to catch up on some rest this week because I had a hellacious trip from Florida coming back, staying up late watching those fights. But yeah, quick trip to Salt Lake City, then coming back, and then I'm here for a minute.
And next week, I believe we have a special guest. Not going to announce it yet, but we will preview Canelo Charlo.
Very excited about that. I plan to be there too, so I'm really excited and looking forward to that.
All right. Well, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule on UFC Fight Pass. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Smoke and Tim Frazier, and Tino on the edits. Goodbye, everybody.